Hello, everyone, and welcome to She Talks Life and Faith. I'm Gloria, and we're here with Omar, and we just wanted to talk about Hispanic Heritage Month. I don't know if you guys are aware, but it's celebrated from September 15th to October 15th, and it's basically just a month to kind of like talk about and focus on individuals that have impacted and made a positive impact in the Hispanic community. And so I felt that I wanted to share that because as a person who is part of the Mexican American community in the United States and just in the world, I wanted to kind of like shed some light, a positive light on so many accomplishments in different areas that Hispanic individuals have made. And it's a celebration for all nationalities that are, of Hispanic descent.
Yes.
So, but this time I wanted to kind of focus a little bit on the Mexican American, and I found a story that really intrigued me. And I don't know, have you heard anything about the Hispanic Heritage Month or anything about it?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, we celebrate it every year from the dates, and just something that it's great to learn about your history, your culture, and culture is a big thing. And I think I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yes, and so I chose to kind of focus on. So we're based in Texas, So if you're in Texas, we live here in Texas, and this story is actually based on individuals that were here in Texas. It's about the movie The Long Game, and if you haven't seen the movie The Long Game, we saw it, and I highly recommend it. It was a great movie. It's a great movie, and I guess it's kind of like we're kind of partially doing a review, but also we're kind of focusing on the Hispanic side and
right, which I wasn't familiar with the story at all. So I'm glad that they were able to make a movie and shed some light on the story because it's a really beautiful story.
Yes, and I think that's why it's so important for younger generations or older generations who might not know about the influence and the impact that Hispanics have made, because the movie is based it's in the 1950s.
Right.
It's not something that happened today in present day, and it's such an impact because
it's a time of segregation, still segregation during the time as they show in the movie.
Yeah, yes, and but what I was gonna say, another thing that we're always going to be talking about on She Talks Life and Faith, we're always going to focus on inspirational, motivational stories, how you can they can impact you, stories that we share to make life better and just impact you, inspire you. And for me, this story really inspired me. I was very unaware of the whole, I guess, to kind of now talk a little bit about it without giving away the movie. So the story is the movie is called The Long Game, and it's an adaptation from a book. The book was written by Humberto G. Garcia in 2012, and it's called, the book is called The Mustang Miracle. And somehow, I guess, I don't know how it was, I don't know all those details, but I guess they really liked the book and they decided to make it into a movie. And so I haven't read the book, but I'm probably going to read it. But we did watch the movie, and in the movie it's 5 students that are from the San Felipe High School golf team. Well, they make a golf team because the San Felipe High School, it's the high school in Del Rio, Texas.
Right.
And they work in a country club, right?
Mm-hmm.
You also saw the movie. They work in a country club, and you could add what you thought about that.
They work in a country club, and then their superintendent, which is played by Jay Hernandez, the real person is named JB, and so he's a veteran that decides to start a golf team. And this is how the story takes place. He comes across these teenagers who work.
Let's not give away all the movie.
Well, just a little bit of the background. But
it's a good movie,
right?
But I don't want to give it all away. But
well,
yes,
he comes across them and they start a team.
Yes,
and this is basically the
they meet through an event, and through that event he decides to help them out because he has an interest in golf, and again, you have to watch it to see it, and that's what leads them to connect. And at the time, and I think it's really important, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because the things that now we take for granted as Mexican, the Mexican community or other communities. So it is based in the 1950s. It actually, 1950s, and so they were not allowed to play. No Mexican Americans were allowed to play in the golf
tournaments,
club, right? In the golf tournaments or in the country club. They only worked there, but they found a passion for golf, and so this story becomes, I guess, it starts to develop in that. Then they try to create a team, and so the name of the students it was 5 students that kind of made up this team: Mario Lomas and Felipe Romero, Lupe Falen. Hopefully I'm not mispronouncing the names. Joe Trevino and Jean Vasquez. And so they kind of are the team members of this golf team. And it's kind of like an overview to just not give away the movie, but give you an idea of what it's about.
Yeah. What I liked is that they were the underdogs. The movie is basically like an underdog story where they're facing a lot of adversity. I'm sure that people are telling them they can't do it. They don't want them there. But they have that passion, like you said, to win. And out of working really hard together and finding that discipline and that passion in this sport, they become Texas state champions.
So to add to what you just said, I mean, they were facing a lot of adversity, not only because they were Mexican, because back then you didn't. So once again, there were no other teams with any Mexican Americans.
Right.
So this is why it's so, for me, it was so impacted me. They were like the first team of Mexican Americans that got together. And now you see so many. I mean, it's not even a thought. It's like a sports team is made up of so many different individuals. Yeah. But back in the 1950s, you didn't see that. So they were pioneers in that. They really did bring something new that they had never seen. So they did face challenges, and also
with family too. And that's, not to get into the movie, but the adversity sometimes, and we even deal with that as Hispanics. Where I can relate is sometimes the adversity sometimes can come within, and not even in the sense that they, maybe family doesn't want you to do something, but the sometimes that just the access to the tools to try something different, and because golf is not really something you really hear a lot of Hispanics play,
well, golf is a little bit more, I would say, not a sport that was,
at the time it was probably nobody.
Yeah, it was not a sport that a lot of Hispanic individuals were playing, and also the challenges of just economic. The resources. True. Because it's an expensive sport. Yeah. Let's not forget. It's expensive just getting anything to everything to play the game. It's an expensive sport. So they were already kind of facing that challenge alone, because they went in not with the best, the best sport gear that they needed, and they had to compete against people that had probably the best of the best. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's also the side that I wanted to share. If you're out there today, and it really is a movie that after you watch it, you will feel inspired, because I know I felt inspired. After you watch it, you're going to feel inspired. For me, what I took from it also was that if you're facing challenges like that today, and you happen to hear this podcast, and you're listening today, watching us, and you want to accomplish something that your family has never accomplished, and you're like, how can I do that? Don't think that you can't do it. That's what I really got. Don't underestimate yourself. Do not think that you cannot do it. You can do it, and you will do it. And they, for me, left that legacy. Yeah. And it's a beautiful legacy that they left, and it had actually happened. So if you think about it, the book was written it came out in 2012. by Humberto Garcia. And somehow for many years, this amazing story went unnoticed. It went unnoticed. And thank God that it was brought to light. And that's why I chose this, because I will be covering other stories for Hispanic Heritage Month. But I thought this story would probably be the one that I really wanted to share first, because it was covered for so many years, and it's such a story of motivation, inspiration, that needs to be shared with others.
And one thing also I really did like, Dennis Quaid, I'm a fan of his, and he's done some really great movies. So the fact that he worked on this movie too, with Jay Hernandez, they had worked on a movie together, I believe The Rookie, a long time ago, many years ago. But the fact that you have big name actors working on a movie like this, the cinematography was great. The movie, it was a lot. It was just a very inspirational story, and it really makes you feel like anything is possible. Because if they could do it back in the 50s, really, I mean, with everything that we have, and we've come such a long way here in the U.S. now.
So I think it's really important, because in celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, not only did this movie feature people and Hispanics from the 1950s, but it's also giving the opportunity for actors in today that are part of the movie, like Cheech Marin is part of the movie, Jay Hernandez, and it's nice to see that they're being put in a positive light, something positive, because there is a lot of positive out there in our community, and for me, that's what I really enjoyed, because as a Mexican, I like to watch something that shows us in all different aspects.
Yeah. And you think
so that's what I really enjoyed.
We're starting to see more Hispanic movies. Like I know Eva Longoria also had recently made a movie, and so you're seeing more spotlight on that, and that's such a great thing to see, because being Hispanic myself, I'm born and raised here in San Antonio. I really enjoy hearing these stories, about just our culture, and just especially during this time right now, to learn more about it. I think it is important for us as Hispanics, and just even if you're not Hispanic, just to learn about the Hispanic culture, all Latinos, and just it is something good to know, and just to be embracing of all cultures.
Yes, and I think also for, once again, younger generations out there, you're so used to the things that now you take for granted that are just your everyday. And it really shows you how much progress we have made from the 1950s. Because think about it, to not be able to be part of a country club just because of who you are, that is just not even a thought now.
Yeah.
You can be, and it's not because you couldn't be paid to be a member, you just couldn't because of who you were. And things like that, I think we should never forget.
Yeah, the people that kind of started that,
they paved the way.
They were the pioneers, basically.
They paved the way for what now we take for granted. So for me, we shouldn't take for granted all these things that now we have. And so, I don't want to make this all about, I guess, facing some discrimination, but that you do see that in the movie, and I think it's good to see how out of something negative they turn it into a positive, and it kind of gave them that extra drive to excel and to do better. And I mean, they did. They were, from what I understand, I read up on it a little bit, and I think they held that record. Because they held a record, right. They did really great, and again, I don't want to give the ending, but they did great. So you kind of can imagine they did good. But the record that they held it for many years. Maybe, I don't know, it was a long time, many years. So something else that we haven't discussed yet. So yeah, this movie is extremely inspirational. But how more inspiring can it be that these 5 young men in high school, they were so passionate about golf that they built.
Well, they had to build it because they were banned, right? So they were banned from being a part of a country club.
But they built a golf course. Yeah. So, I think of that. Like, I mean, not a full golf course, but enough to where they could practice. And so that accomplishment alone, that's extraordinary. I mean, to build a golf course, and again, it's not the entire, but enough to where you could really I mean, enough for them to be successful in their sport. That's amazing. That's really amazing.
Basically, they said they couldn't practice where
Really
the golf club was apart. They couldn't practice there, so they said, you know what, we're just gonna build our own, and that's exactly what they did. They said, you know what, we're not gonna give up, and so I think
it's about not giving up,
yeah.
and that's what it really impacted me. Like, whatever it is, whatever dream, I guess for me, and I always want to share the positive aspect of any story, and we'll be covering from time to time here on our show, She Talks Life and Faith. We'll be talking about stories that are either movies that we see, books, and different things. It's that don't think you can't do it. I mean, building a golf course because you're not allowed to go and play in the actual country club, that shows that you can do almost anything. So that for me was one of the main points that I took from this movie, that whatever you feel that you can't do because of because you're Mexican or whatever it is that you are facing.
Well, there was a quote I
don't think that you can't.
And there was a quote in the movie where Jay Hernandez character, he said something along the lines of, if you don't know where the hole is at, then how do you know where you're aiming towards? Basically saying, if you don't have a goal, if you don't have an idea of what you want to do, how do you know where to go from there? And I think that was one of the things, that they were so focused on that goal of being a part of this club or being a part of the golf tournament, that they just found a way to make it happen. Yes. And that's basically, a story that we can all relate to, that sometimes we are going to face that adversity. Sometimes we are going to face those challenges. But as long as you know exactly where you're heading towards, there's nothing to stop you. You can make it. You can make it to your dream.
Yes, and I think, once again, and, for me right now, I wanted to kind of place a focus on the Hispanic Heritage Month. And it's something that I don't recall growing up even having Hispanic Heritage Month, but I do think it's a good way of now just kind of shedding a positive light on all these individuals, like these students in the 1950s in Del Rio who did make an impact, and just sharing that with other people and learning from others. And so I do enjoy that. I enjoy that we can now celebrate our Hispanic heritage.
And also, one thing that I thought about, Gloria, is that the movie was actually released in the theater, so it was a good budget movie, and now you can even watch it on Netflix. So if you haven't seen the movie, highly recommend it for some inspiration and just to again celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month.
So I feel that this movie, The Long Game, is really fitting for Hispanic Heritage Month, because the theme for 2024 Hispanic Heritage Month is Pioneers of Change, Shaping the Future Together. And so I think that these students, Mario Lomas, Felipe Romero, Lupe Felan, Joe Trevino, and Jean Vasquez, who were students in the 1950s, were definitely pioneers for change for the Hispanic community. And I think there's obviously other pioneers, people in the golf community. I don't know if you heard of Lee Trevino. He was one of the best out there, right?
Yeah, one of many, but one of the greats when it comes to Hispanic golfers.
Yes, and I believe there was also a woman, Nancy Lopez, and she was also, one of the best also in golfing. So
one of the most accomplished Latina female golfers.
Yes, and so that is kind of what we wanted to talk about, to just focus on Hispanics for Hispanic Heritage Month. Just focus on the positive impact that they have made for the community in general.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to step up my game. Right now it's putt, but I think we're gonna maybe go to Top Golf, followed by maybe we can go a few rounds of the golf course now. I'm very inspired.
Well, it motivated you a lot. So yes, it motivated you. So I wanted to share this inspirational story with you guys, and I hope that you were able to check it out and watch it. It's available now on Netflix. It was, I believe, in the movies last year, but you can watch it tonight if you like. So thank you for being here today with us, Omar, and thank you for joining us.